Welcome to Taking Stock. I'm Amanda Lang. Coming up on the show, we're taking the temperature of a restaurant business to find out how it's weathering this economy and how do we get to housing affordability, either a collapse in home prices or a spike in wages. Plus, trade barriers between provinces is low-hanging fruit to improve our economy. So why can't we get rid of them? That's all ahead. First, for the week that was in business, it's time for the briefs. Inflation in the U.S. cooled to 3.1% in January compared to a year ago, but rose slightly in the month and was hotter than most economists had predicted. The central bank there could begin cutting rates as soon as this spring, but like Canada's bank has cautioned, it remains alert to factors like supply chain disruptions and housing costs that could hurt the progress to lower inflation. Home sales rose 22% in January in Canada compared to a year ago. That's the largest increase since the spring of 2021. The gains are a reflection of how weak the market was last year. January sales rose 3.7% from December, and prices rose compared to last year, but dipped slightly from December. The federal government is earmarking $176 million for a pair of initiatives aimed at boosting rural economies, aiming to build 50,000 homes in rural communities, and is increasing student loan forgiveness for rural doctors and nurses by 50%. Canada's housing advocate is asking for a national response to the problem of homeless tent encampments by the end of this summer. The first of its kind report estimated that up to a quarter of homeless Canadians are living in tent encampments. The advocate suggests those encampments have access to basic necessities like clean water, food, and health care. An Ontario law that limited wage increases for some workers has been deemed unconstitutional by the Ontario Court of Appeal. In response, the Government of Ontario said it will immediately repeal Bill 124, which capped salary increases for public sector workers at 1% a year for 3 years. There was bad news about the cost of insuring electric vehicles this week. Analysis from credit rating agency DBRS says what might be obvious. Because EVs contain more electronics, they cost more to repair them. And the experience in other countries has been a jump in insurance. In the UK, up 72% for EVs last year, compared to 29% increases for gas and diesel. And those are your business briefs. Well, with inflation still running hot and a lot of businesses struggling with their debt, how are restaurants coping with the stress? Carl Heinrich is the owner of Richmond Station restaurant in Toronto. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, Amanda.
So we check in from time to time, and I want to know, given where we are in the kind of path of this kind of economic, maybe road to slow down recession, what's top of mind for you? What are your concerns these days?
Well, first off, Amanda, I think it's a good day to be talking because this is a great day for restaurants in general. Valentine's Day, your favorite restaurant is probably already booked up and has been for a couple of weeks now. We really like when Valentine's is early week or midweek instead of on a weekend. And I think just in general across our industry, there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. I think there's a lot of people starting to return to work finally after a few years of hiatus there or working from home. And, even in our own business, I think things like we're finally going to be opening for lunch in a couple of months here. And I know a lot of new businesses are opening in our neighborhood too. So again, I just think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic looking down the horizon here. Well,
we like to hear that, of course, because we want businesses to be feeling good. There's been a sense for a lot of restaurants, Carl, that sales haven't returned to pre-pandemic levels. What's your experience?
Yeah, it's a fact. Sales hasn't returned to pre-pandemic levels. Hospitality industry in general is still looking at 2019 as the benchmark where we want to get back to here. Listen, tourism is still down. And frankly, people, like I said, people need to get back to work and go support their local businesses. I think a lot of businesses are feeling this crunch. I think a lot of small businesses in general have felt this kind of crunch for the past few years now. But again, I think there's reason to be optimistic. And the reason for that is because people are going out and supporting their small businesses again. Right. And that dollar that you spend at your local small business really turns into a lot more dollars in your community when you think about it too. So again, I think the swing is up right now. And I love that optimism. The concern, of course, and I hate to keep trying to bring you down here, but inflation persists, and mostly in food is where we're seeing it really hanging on. And so folks that are already paying too much at the grocery store know you have to charge more, I'm sure, because your own food costs have gone up. So then they get hit with more when they go out. Are you worried that as
renewals of mortgages happen and people's finances maybe get a little bit even tighter in the months ahead, that will actually come and hurt you a little bit as you look down the road?
Well, listen, anybody that knows me knows that I'm always worried about that kind of thing. But I believe that if you continue to be an excellent employer, continue to put excellent food on the plate, and continue to be excellent in the hospitality industry, people will always want to support your business. You're right. I mean, costs are up. People have to expect that the places that they've been going to for a long time just have to charge more for their product. I think that has to be expected. We have no choice but to charge more for our product when our costs go up. So that's just across the board. You're right that food prices are higher inflation-wise than compared to a lot of other sectors, but that's just the way it is. I'll tell you, though, the businesses that that you support locally, that buy food locally, their prices, their costs are not necessarily having to go up as much as, say, businesses that are buying a lot of imported food or food that require a lot of shipping. Yeah, that's a very good point. It's great to have you for this, Carl. Appreciate it. Thanks, Amanda. Talk later. Carl Heinrich is owner of Richmond Station Restaurant. Still ahead, how we define housing affordability will help clarify what it might take to get us there. We'll explore after this.